What's up, everyone? Maria here. If you've been following me on my Facebook page, you've noticed that I completed this running challenge 4x4x48, which is a run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, or basically, you do 12 rounds of 4 miles run every 4 hours. That's the sequence. First of all, um, I want to thank actually Karen Heffron for actually jumping in and doing her best. She picked something, planks to do it every 4 hours, and she did a phenomenal job. I really applaud her for actually jumping in and saying, Yes, let me do something. And that's about it. It's about doing something that is challenging your body, your mind in certain ways, something unusual. There is a lot to this challenge, when it's done, and a running 4 miles and things like that. But in essence, the creator of this challenge, David Goggins, which I've been a fan since 2018, it's all about, he put this challenge up a few years ago, and I did it in 2020 also, out of the blue. And I just needed to do something during the pandemic. And Ron, a friend of mine, kind of joined, and he did also. He scaled down the run, but he did it, and he actually, at the end, he was very glad he did it. At the time, I thought, well, I'm just going to do this thing. I wasn't prepared. But the idea was, I needed at the time something to challenge me because I was bored in the house, alone, and so on. This time around, I decided to do it again. I've been thinking on doing it again, but I put a date because I saw a friend of mine, Mandy, who was from the CrossFit gym that I started CrossFit in 2012, 13. And I haven't seen her since 2017. And she says, Hey, I saw you did that. I would like to do it. And I says, You know what? I'll put a date. So fast forward, I thought actually it would be a good time for me to do it again because I wanted to see, hey, I'm 48 now and not getting any younger like everybody, listening to this. We're not getting younger. At the same time, I wanted to actually get myself out of the comfort zone again physically. And yes, I do practice CrossFit, 4 to 5 times a week. And I walk a lot on the weekends, at night, and things like that. But there is always something that transforms me when I do something physical. And so that's why, first of all, I decided to do it. You know, so I know 99.9% there's people out there. Maybe you are one of them that is like, why would you do that? It's just like I was talking to some peeps and says, why do you want to run 4 miles night in the morning after you've been up until 1 in the morning and things like that? First, there's a commitment to do it. Second is I promised somebody I was going to show up. Third is it's a way of preparation um, for this challenge that I established the dates about 45 days ago. So that would give my friend Mandy some time to prepare as well because she joined. She also scaled because she had not been exercising much, but she did something totally outside her comfort zone, which I applaud her to for doing that as well. And and it kind of changes her directions and helped her reassess her fitness and where she wants to go again because she was a pretty strong lady and didn't exercise for a couple of years because she was pursuing her master's. But anyway, so why would somebody do this? And it's because I like the challenge. I like to see where I'm at. I also am a health and wellness coach, and I work coaching function in the body and functioning and also coaching down the disruptors. And you know, anyone who comes to me for any service related to that is going to challenge their body. And as a coach, I want to continue to do that to demonstrate that I also do it in different ways. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. And I'm not asking anyone to be perfect. I'm asking for progress. And in this progress, wherever you are and that I am, there is always going to be uphill battles. And this kind of challenge that is so focused on your body and your mind allows to kind of build, that resiliency, that mental toughness that can help us whenever we come across difficult situations. Because during this 48 hours, there's nothing more important than, there was nothing more important than my body. And okay, what do I have to do? So this time around, compared to 2020, I planned ahead. So I actually put a schedule and I started tracking metrics compared to last time that I didn't. And I think that's the beauty of it. First, I prepare myself. Second is I up my game to see, well, 3 years later, I'm going to introduce these new things because oftentimes they help, the body. So what I'm doing is I kind of, doing what I kind of preach and ask of my clients to get themselves, to allow themselves to get outside their comfort zone so they can change, so they can grow, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally. We have to put ourselves outside the comfort zone. Society in general is not, most people are not doing that. So when we talk to others, we look around, it's the same kind of story. Why would you do that? That's crazy. Or, blah, 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 about your body, is pushing to a stress level. Yes, and I'll comment on these stress levels. There are benefits to this kind of pushing, extending. But the most benefit here that I want to kind of, share with you and put in your mind is, if you are thinking about challenging yourself, not to this level, to any level, in a physical perspective, is what we do during these times is going to help us to actually uh, think better and be more in control when tough situations come ahead in life, right? It's just like creativity. We need to create this space in our lives, in our brain, no noise, to allow ourselves to be creative. Otherwise, it's too much noise. So society's put too much noise. The day to day is very noisy. So during this 48 hours, there's not much noise but me, taking a few naps, and eating properly, and to not disrupt actually my runs, right? To stay hydrated and several other things. And obviously stretching and taking care of the body so we can perform. So we learn every time we learn. Look, our cells, they want to do their jobs every freaking day. It's what we do to our bodies from eating and drinking, and our mindset, what kind of thoughts we allow in, what kind of words we say out. All those things impact those cells, period. Um, so this is a chance for us to be with ourselves, with our body, with our mind, and evaluate, change as needed so we can continue to grow. That's why I do that. And again, be an example to my clients, to my community. Second, another question is, think that I'm crazy. Well, I think that I already answered. Yes, I've been called crazy many times. I don't give a crap, honestly. Yeah, bungee jumping, being the shark, in the great white shark, in a cage with great white sharks, rappelling, you know, rocks and water, and doing all kinds of stuff. Uh, this is something that I enjoy, and for most people, they would think that is too risky. Well, you know what? I don't think that way, and that's okay. That's okay for us to be different. I'm just saying that we have to take our self judgment and judgment out, because we're all wired differently. Our backgrounds, from the way that we're born, C-section to a normal delivery, to the way we're fed, to the family environment, to traumas, that's built who we are today. As an adult, we also have the ability to kind of assess who we are, and we can change as well. Again, the change is going to be an uphill battle. Nothing is worthwhile unless it is uphill. I'm okay doing those things, and I enjoy I enjoy them too. I learn. I'm very curious. So I believe that the more curious we are about our body and our minds, and our questioning who we are, the more opportunities for us to grow and the more opportunities for us to add value to others. My vision and my mission, part of it, is to add value to people. So if there is something that I can continue to grow doing to continue to grow, so it helps me to become a better coach, better friend, sibling, whatever, I'm gonna do it. That's my choice. That has been my choice for many years, and I don't let society dictate that. And in certain ways, I shut the doors, to these stressors that are trying to be imposed upon me, from questions from why this, why that, why that. I can answer them, no problem. To, this is happening, that is happening, and all that. I'm soaking all in, allowing these stressors coming down upon me and changing the direction of my life or my mind. Says, no, I choose not to. I choose, what to read. I choose what to listen to. I choose what to write. I choose the people I'm going to be with. And is all to kind of enhance my potential. It's really my potential. I want to discover the best of my ability. What is my optimal health, and also my potential. I think that, you know, there are many people who are not seeing their potential, and it's become into an average, and I don't want to be average, and I don't want any of you to be average either. Now, there's a cost to that. There's going to be sacrifices. I've made significant sacrifices, in the last several years, especially when I left corporate. And I have good news about those sacrifices too. But, so it's a choice. And I don't have a fear, I guess, of choosing a path that might be harder, because I'm focusing on the outcome. This outcome is, how can I be better? How can I grow more? So when I go into these runs, or when I'm driving, that I'm listening to, educational material, to podcasts that are totally related to health and wellness. And I barely watch any TV. I don't have cable. I watch on ABC and NBC.com. I mean, some people think, "Oh my God, you're crazy, you're different." Well, that's who I am, and that's fine. There's no judgment of your habits and behaviors. So let's not judge others for who they choose to become. I think that we're always becoming, by not living a stagnant life. So, anyway, long answer to that. I'm crazy. The other question, I think, is like what I'm trying to prove. I think I already answered that. I'm trying to prove that at 48 years old, I can do this. Why? Because I'm diligent to my fitness and to my health. And I'm trying to prove that I can still do these challenges and to push myself, because, like David Goggins says, most people are operating under 40%. I want to know more. When I push and it says, what can I discover about the body? How far more I can go? I think it's awesome to know that. Yet I have to say yes to things that are going to push me to that direction. I know I'm repeating myself, but that's it. We can never hear that enough. And if there is something that you're listening here says, I thought about doing that and that is too difficult, look, you can do anything that you put your mind to it. I know that. I know that. We're all humans. We are on this earth over here to not be mediocre or to live a mediocre life. We're here to achieve greatness, to live a phenomenal life, to feel fabulous, be fab, be you, right? So, why not get out of the comfort? Why not get out of our comfort zones? That's what this challenge is about, is getting outside the comfort zone. Now, there's consequences to that. Like Karen mentioned, well, there is a thing of sleep, and I don't like to lose my sleep because the immune system. Agree. Absolutely agree with Karen. The lack of sleep, I mean, is tremendous, right, to our body. The consequences are tremendous. So what it does, sleep is impacted on mitochondrial function, sleep is impacting blood sugar, stress levels, immune system, digestion, growth of muscle, memory, everything. It is first one pillar. If we don't get good sleep, boom, this challenge is not about that. Yet I can say it is, because there's times in our lives, Like I've done that multiple times in my life where I did all nighter because there were sacrifices that I need to prepare for something. And most likely you've done that as well in your past, or do that. If you're an entrepreneur, you might be doing that today, or if you're an executive, you probably, there are times that you're sleeping 3 hours and you still have to perform. So it's almost like training for that, you know. Do I need to train my body to do that? Well, you know what, I pushed, right? Because in total I was getting, 90 minutes of sleep, not every cycle. So in total I got 8.5 hours of sleep in these 2 days while running, you know, quite a bit, 24 miles a day. So, yes, it's disruptive, but it's an acute disruptor. I am willing to take the cost, the risk for doing that, because there is an upside in the long term. I believe is again going back to the mind. How can I stay focused? Is it that kind of mental toughness? How can I stay focused with that lack of sleep and pushing the body physically to perform? And I did perform. So again, that goes into we can do amazing things when needed, when we choose to. Okay. So, there is a stress, right? There is a tremendous amount of stress that I put my body through. My cortisol was ruling, my body for the last 2 days. And, chronic cortisol, there is significant consequences, to the entire body, brain health, blood sugar, digestion, muscles, and go on and on and on and on and on and on with the list. I help people test cortisol levels, and see when they're tanking or not. Let me tell you, I performed. I performed. I did the job. There is a cost. That cortisol was running the entire time. I know that. I did not measure my blood sugar, but I'm sure that because of the overtraining on over exercising, that blood sugar was also high at times, because the cortisol is high, is going to raise blood sugar to say, hey, I need to break down potentially muscles. And obviously, I cannot prove that, but I'm 99% sure that during this time, the last 2 days, I broke muscle mass. Why? Because I was not eating properly. And I say not eating properly, not better choice, but overnight, I was like, okay, I have to make some choices on the amount of food that I was going to eat because I needed to run. So I only had a small window. So I stayed on a liquid, although it was very nutritious, with a meal replacement brand that I mentioned in a previous video. And I ate some cashews to give me some carbs and additional fat in the second day. Actually, the last one day I was adding that, and that kind of helped. But what I'm saying is, I know that I didn't put as much nutrients that I was burning. So I was in deficit. Another reason that I know I was in deficit, it was because I lost weight. I lost 5 freaking pounds. A lot of it is water, because I also know that although I was drinking, I was not drinking enough. I was not drinking enough to replenish. I was going to the bathroom, I was peeing, I was pooping. So the stress of the overexercise actually didn't cause me to stop my digestive system. Actually, exercise helps with motility as well. So that's a combination there that why, likely I was still going to the bathroom despite the fact that I was not eating a lot. So there was those kind of stressors, right? And those kind of consequences. But again, it's not something that I'm doing every day. I'm willing to take the consequences, for that mental toughness to prove to myself that yes, I can do things that are difficult and I can see that my body is capable of a lot. So when I think about going forward, oh, Maria, you cannot do this or you cannot lift this happy, whatever, and it says, yeah, give myself, talk to yourself over here, my Maria. So we've done that. This is a cookie jar, another Goggins kind of a term, and he uses, I'm putting this challenge that I improved from last time in my cookie jar. Okay. And let me also say this, as far as this weight loss and amount of nutrition that I was eating and all that, I was telling, most people are burning our carb and sugar burners. I was actually burning fat. And it's important when you do, for example, intermittent fasting and things like that, you kind of train your body to burn fat. And my body, with the amount of food that I was eating, I was still performing in a reasonable kind of way. And that's because my body has been trained to go and burn fat, meaning that we do not have to be eating all the time to perform. We don't need to do that. Okay. So, this is part of something that I teach my clients too. We need to turn our body to learn how to burn fat. I'm not saying not to eat for 24 hours every day, or go into a 5-day fast, although I've done that multiple times too, and so on. But there is a learning curve. And eating 6 times a day or until 10 o'clock and then having breakfast at 7 a.m., that is too much. The body needs to rest. So, let's teach the body to burn fat like I did, right, during this challenge. So I also wanted to comment in what this challenge gives an opportunity. I kind of mentioned this, but I think I would like to highlight is, you know, when you do things like that that are kind of difficult, you have, mind chatters. We already have mind chatters all the time. I don't know about you, but I do. I question my decisions. I'm alone, meaning you know I don't have family around here. My circle of friends are kind of small. uh, True friends, right? There's a lot of acquaintances and things like that. My clients become really great, good people in my life, but it's still they're clients, and some of them turn into to friends later on. But what I'm saying is the circle that I choose to share a lot and that I trust, that circle of trust is small. And so a lot of the times I'm making decisions of myself. There is like the good guy on the right side, there is the bad guy on the left side. There's a lot of chatter. So during this time that you of yourself doing something difficult, you potentially you want to stop. I didn't think about that this because I made this decision to be in this challenge. It was my second time. I prepare myself better. I had a damn schedule. So when we are prepared, going to about life, planning, health and wellness planning, when we prepare and we have ourselves to be accountable, that we make ourselves accountable, or we have somebody on the other line that is like, hey, what's going on? It helps us. Without a plan, we're going to fail. We're going to fail. Or like my first time was basically grit. I need to prove to myself I can do this. I'm going to do this, yada yada yada. And I said I need to change. I need something to challenge my soul, and that's why I did it in 2020. This time was a little different, and I'm so glad that happened the way it did. Okay, because there is several things that I did differently, and I'm gonna share. I have a whole spreadsheet over here. Let me see if I can share. No, I don't think I'm gonna share this. Let me see if I can share. I don't think I can share. I don't see an option to share in the screen now. I could at the beginning. But let me tell you some of the things that I did differently. Okay. I planned it ahead, which was great. I weighted myself, prior to now. Like I mentioned, I lost 5 pounds, and these pounds are going to go back because I'm going to get the water back and I'm going to start eating solids again. I was drinking electrolytes, which I didn't before. And I included essential amino acids again to help my body not to break down my muscles too much, because amino acids is basically energy, and the body can utilize that. And I did that not every time I work out actually, but sometimes I chose that to be pre-workout or post workout. Totally depend also with food, because when you drink essential amino acids and you eat food right after or before, that's not as effective. The essential amino acids are going to fight, with the nutrients of this food. So I had to be more careful. When I ate, I didn't have this. Had to be a break at least 45 minutes, between meals. So there are times that it didn't make any sense, or because I was taking naps at night, and waking up, there's not enough time. So that kind of stuff. I know I stayed primarily in a liquid diet, and that I did well on that. Again, I use protein powders, and I did add those cashews because I thought that would be, well, I didn't think, I knew there were going to be source of carbs and fat that I could burn also as I was, running. So the fat is, when it's consumed that close, is going to be utilized as well. So I did cold showers, which I didn't before. I did cold plunges. I did a total of 5 cold plunges, temperature as low as 61 degrees. Really cool. I'm going to continue to do them as much as possible. I have a portable plunge. This time I use a tub, put bags of ice in there. It was like brutal, brutal freaking cold, okay? And I don't like cold, but again, I do these things because I want to see, there is science behind it, and I like to try different things. So I'm going to do it. And can I prove that this cold plunges and the cold showers help me with my body? I can't, but my guess is yes, it did. Why? Because the first time I did this challenge, out of the 12 runs, only one I run outside. All the other ones were inside. This time, more than half of my runs were outside. And I'm feeling about, my legs are sore, my feet are sore, my hips are good, knees are good. The body's good like it was last time, but I'm sore. And I bet that I would be more sore if I hadn't done these cold plunges. And again, I applaud myself for doing that and being brave, because if you know me, you know that I hate the cold, but this is teaching me something. So again, curiosity. Um, and also, the other thing that I had different is a mattress. I have a mattress with um, kind of the base. It kind of moves. I forgot the name of it now, but you can elevate your feet, elevate your head, and boy, every time I went to take a nap at night, and my feet were up, wow, what a relief! I am pretty sure that this mattress helped. Okay. Because I slept, obviously I was tired, but I slept like a rock for those 90 minutes. Unless I tried myself and I did a cold plunge only in the lower body, legs, on the plunge. And then I noticed that took me longer to fall asleep. And that's why I didn't do as many cold plunges. I did actually a total of 5, just because the interference with my sleep. So I didn't do anything after 9 o'clock, and today actually I didn't do any because it started so early and I finished the last run at 1 o'clock p.m. I'm gonna do a plunge, tomorrow, the day after, and so on. But soon here after this video, I'm probably go to sleep. So anyway, and also this mattress, sleeping with my elevated head actually and feet. Yes, I'm crazy. I sleep like this. Okay, my butt's right in the middle, feet is up, head is up. Has actually, I notice, this watch over here tracks everything, or a lot of the important things that matter to me. My HRV has been better, my deep sleep is better, but obviously there's no tracking during these last 2 days because it needs at least 4 hours of sleep to track deep sleep, HRV, and things like that. So that was another new thing from 2020. I didn't have a watch like this. I didn't have a wrist, a strap, which I run mostly with the strap, unless I was running with a treadmill, because that doesn't matter, the strap for that. And so that gave me data, and I love the data. I was able to control the time effectively, and try to control also the zones. Part of my goal was to run in zone 2 at least a few times, and I did. 3 times I run mostly on zone 2, and I'm like, oh my God, the first time was so freaking boring. Then I kind of adjusted a little bit, and I discovered a different way that was more pleasant for me to do it. And boring because it's very slow, for me. And so those are the new things, that I tried observing, and I'm sure that that helped me to, finish this 3 years later in a better performance, especially because of the outdoor running. And the times were very similar, and the soreness in the body is equally except that I would expect to be a lot more. Uh, and I attribute that to the cold showers and cold plunges. And yes, I diligently stretched, before and after. So that didn't change, and it's extremely important. Foam roller, especially, and then other hip openers and back stretches and things like that. It cannot do, I would say, otherwise. Just going for a run, you would destroy the body. And I don't have any back pain from this challenge. I mean, I always had a little tweak over here on the left side that hasn't changed at all. It's just the stiffness really on the legs a little bit, despite of all the stretches that I've done. So anyway, this has been a pretty long live over here. 30 minutes looks like. So uh, I hope that you got something out of this if you're listening to it. I'm just gonna say in summary that putting ourselves into a level of discomfort and this stress, there are benefits. There are benefits in the long term. So it's teaching the body something. It's teaching our mind something, and also gives us confidence to our future, especially when it comes to physicality. And wherever you are with your physical abilities, there is always a way to get better, right? You can put a challenge like this in any way and shape that you like. Every 4 hours, you do something, like Karen did planks, some, like Mandy, she did runs and rowing, and she picked something that was outside her comfort zone. She had never done anything like that, sequentially in sequence of hours. You can do squats, you can do push-ups, you can just go for a walk if you've been, sitting too much. It's just something different, and you're gonna discover yourself. And you're going to connect with your body and mind, and that's a beautiful thing. Look, we only have this only one, so let's treat the best we can. And your opinion might be, Maria, you're not treating it right. Yes, I am. I'm treating this especially, by working this. Okay. Now, uh, always know that there is growth in you. There is always growth in me. It's up to us to say yes to what part of growth, if it is a skill, if it is mental, physical, emotional. I think all of us have something to work on. And we are not perfect beings, and everybody comes from a different background. So when we think about living a life of value and intentionality, and adding value to others, putting others to help others, we're going to be happier. So, what can we do to push ourselves to continue to discover what that optimal health is, and learn what optimal is? What is healthy for us? The average population, not so healthy, right? 70% are obese or overweight. And not to say that obese and overweight people are all sick, but the majority are. So the average is not something that, maybe we want to be compared to. I want to be more. I want to do more. I want to feel great. And am I perfect? Mm-mm. No, sometimes I make bad choices, consciously. At the same time, because of the line of work that I do, I kind of know the consequences, and I minimize the consequences if I make bad choices. And because I also know, then I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be drinking, and feeling like crap the next day. Do I have an alcoholic beverage once in a while? I do. I do. But there is a level of control. And so I know electrolytes, and I know what to do pre and post, and how it affects me. So let's discover how your behaviors and habits are impacting you, so you can discover your optimal level. And this type of challenge is also to get to an optimal level. That's how I believe. So enough about that. If you have any questions, if you're curious about anything, you can send me a private message, or you can, put in the comments section here. I'm an open book, And if you like privacy, I don't have a problem talking to you either. And obviously, if you're looking for functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, somebody who gets to the root cause of the problems and is able to work with different labs and interpret and put a kind of, a guidance on lifestyle, natural therapies, and also fitness, I am your girl. So let's talk about that too. So just put a plug in for the BFABBU. You can always look at bfabbu.com, or if you look into my information, you're going to see a link to my website. So anyway, have a wonderful days. I'm going to go and take a nap or maybe sleep until tomorrow. And that's it, folks. Have a good night. Bye-bye.